Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
Marty Jannetty in the house.
Unbelievable, folks. A brand new Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty is now.
Yeah, they were good. Pat Tanaka I'm very familiar with anyway from Bad Company when they were at AWA, him and Paul Diamond.
Very underrated talent.
Oh gosh, it was great. And then it became great as Orient Express with it was an American boy under the hood called Kato, being Japanese. But oh man, it was Sato. I was familiar with him from my time in Japan. So yeah, it was easy. It was easy working with them. It was easier in Powers of Pain.
Wrestling fans, it's time to rock. WWE legend Marty Jannetty of the Rockers returns for 3 big nights, Wednesday, September the 1st through Friday, September the 3rd. Marty will be taping historical Wrestling Insider episodes, live specials, Insider autograph signings, support wrestling superstars, pre-order autographed 8x10s now over at bostonwrestling.com. This September, get your sunglasses ready. It's time to party with Marty. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the fans just haven't asked for it, they have demanded it.
This August, we're headed back to Tampa for Wrestle House 2.
WrestleMania weekend, we brought you Sinister Minister James Mitchell, TJP, Demolition Smash, Al Snow, Dutch Mantel Zeb Coulter, JTG of Prime Time, and WWE Hall of Famer Gerald Briscoe for in-depth interviews and live interactive cyber autograph signings.
And if you want our Wednesday Night Wrestling Insider Special Edition episodes to continue, we need your help to bring these superstars' careers and lives to life.
Bringing you free content 7 days each week is an expensive proposition. Between appearance fees, air travel, renting the house, the equipment, and everything that goes in to a week of shooting, we can't do it without you.
As we prepare to return to producing live in-ring events, help us bring you the superstars and legends of yesterday and tomorrow by visiting Indiegogo now and check out some of the great rewards.
Wrestling fans, it's going to be a wild week in Tampa the first week in August. Get ready for Wrestle House 2.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Party with Marty here on Wrestling Insiders, the Thursday Night Delight. Marty, it's always great to have you with us again.
Oh, I love being here. You know that.
Week in, week out.
Yes, and in the weeknights.
I think it's fair to say now it's pretty much been a full year of the Partying with Marty.
Yeah, what time this shows.
Yeah, by the time this episode airs, it'll be just about a 1-year anniversary. We've had quite the adventure over the past year.
Yeah, because we had to battle that pandemic thing in about the midway point, but it was a heck of a year. A lot of good things happened. We saw a lot of bad things happen. Well, I have to say that, like New Jack and a few of our other friends. But overall, it was a great experience for me.
And we're just growing and growing.
Yes.
It's like Viagra on the internet.
Well, it was something like that.
There you go. All right, let's flash back. We wrapped up the last program talking about the big Zahorian bust. 3 days
That's
before
right,
the
we
big
did.
event, April the 1st, 1990,
That's exactly.
the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The ultimate challenge. It was
for me.
WrestleMania 6.
Yeah. And it was a big challenge for me.
Why is that?
Well, the night before, we went out and partied a little bit.
This is a surprise.
Well, there was a place called Rock and Roll Haven or Heaven, one or the other. Toronto people will know. Nice, cool place. I went home went to a young lady's house and spent the night. And Sean and I was rooming somewhere by the airport. We always try to do that. And I woke up. I might have had a couple of drinks. Back in my younger days, I used to drink a little bit, partying wise. But anyway, so I wake up and I'm a little hungover. And I'm looking around, it's a new house, and I don't see nobody. And it takes you, if for y'all that party, when you wake up, first wake up hungover a bit, in a different place. It takes a while to figure like, okay, what happened? Where? So it was one of those things. And the girl wasn't there, but she had left a note on the table, and she had to go to work. And she said, you know, don't forget, you said you had to be there by 2. And I'm like, oh shit, because you always got to be there early. It's WrestleMania now.
For WrestleMania, you only had to be there by 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was just like any other TV.
I thought it was earlier than that.
It might be now, but back then, it might even be 1 because they moved that back and forth a few times. I think they moved it from 1 to 2, trying to help out the guys that were always late, you know, because, you know, at times they would fine you.
Yeah.
Davey Boy and what's his name, Dynamite, they had like one paycheck, which was week to week. I think it was back then, before you got the flat fee. You know, it was week to week, and they had one check with $3,000 worth of fines. From 500,
wow.
So what was that? That's six
out of 7 shots.
Yeah, and still made money. That's how much money was being, you know, made back. We were doing good. But anyway, so whatever time it was, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I got to call a taxi. I don't know where.
You don't know the address.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell to tell, because I was going to call Sean and have him come get me, and. You know, I got the address, but now I got to walk down the street. So I started looking for a mail. I think I finally found a piece of mail. I had the house number, but the sign for the street was saying, man, shit. And but I ended up getting there. I got there in time. I just say that. But that was a scary one. There you go. It's going to be WrestleMania 6. We were hoping to sell it out, which I think we did. Set the record on that one. It was at that time the record for the Sky Dome was 63,000 plus, you know, a few hundreds. But you know, we done WrestleMania 5 was our first, and I had you know, I had an experience with that going out to the ring. They had one little step down, you know, about a 6-inch step on the long ass runway. It was probably a good 80 feet. It was a long. You know,
that was a long run, yeah.
And jogging along behind Sean, and here's your big moment, right? My first WrestleMania, big first Super Bowl, first World Series kind of thing. You know, it's like all your friends, all your family, and all your haters get to see it. I've made it. I've met, come on out the curtain, listen to music, jogging behind Sean, and all of a sudden that one step down. And I'm falling forward, and I'm grabbing Sean, got him by the back of his trunks, and he's jogging along and he's pulling his shorts down. He thinks I'm ribbing and messing around with him. He's like, stop playing. He's knocking my hand off. And you know, I got back up. I didn't go all the way down. Worldwide TV, man, there's my interest. You know, I always call GAT, you know, God's amusement toy.
And before Sean became a religious man, he was probably used to people sneaking up from behind and pulling his pants down.
Did I ever tell you about the match him and I had in Denver?
All right, well, anyway, back to Toronto.
So that was my first WrestleMania.
That was at Trump Plaza.
Now here's, it was, and here's 6, the real big one, because we were expecting 60+ thousand. And it was my second one, and I knew we were going to have a great match with Orient Express. But I'm over there sweating bullets because I don't know where the hell I'm at now, if I'm going to make it on time. I mean, I figure I will get there on time, but I mean, as far as for the show. But, you know, will I get there, you know, in time for Vince not to be pissed off? Like, it's WrestleMania and you show up at 4 or 5 o'clock, you know, something like that. But luckily it worked out. That was, go ahead, what were you going to ask about it?
No, I'm 60,000 plus, standing room only, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. A match fondly remembered by people. In just over 7 minutes, the Rockers did the courtesy to the newcomers to the WWF, the Orient Express.
Powder or salt or whatever food you would throw in your face. I think we're opening match again.
No.
Not on that one?
No. You were deeper in the card on that one.
Which, as I've said here before, Roddy Piper explained, it's not an insult to be opening for a major show, because they want to start it off with a good bang, get the people going.
If I remember right, I think it was Rick Martel and Coco that opened.
That'd have been good. Yeah, it's hard to have a bad match with Rick. It was good.
Well,
and Coco
was good too.
Yeah, and everybody loved Frankie.
Your memories of that 7 minutes with the Orient Express, a much different match than you had with the Twin Towers a year ago. You were just coming off of your feud with the Powers of Pain, and
that's right.
Yeah, and the Orient Express were relative newcomers to the company. They only debuted in February.
And that's with Sato, I think.
It was Akio Sato and Pat Tanaka at that point.
And Sato was good too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Not saying anything bad about him, but Paul Diamond and Pat were a dream team for us to work with.
Yeah.
But that match went well, I thought. What was cool was riding out on that cart. Remember they had some kind of cart that would roll you out to the ring. It was made like a ring, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And that outfit, that particular outfit, it was a yellow one. I still had, that's about the only outfit I got left because I wanted to donate for the children Make-A-Wish thing.
Well, you know what? Like I said, where we missed that this year, we could always save it for the Paul Bearer toy drive.
Okay.
This Christmas time.
Because I think I still got some tassels or some stuff.
Oh wow, cool.
But I know I have that particular outfit. Oh man, I almost sold it back when I was struggling a little bit. Because I had one offer for $5,000 for it. Now that I've seen Wanted Treasures, WWC and the prices, I guess I'm gonna have to jack it up. But I want to keep at least a WrestleMania outfit.
Oh yeah.
And put it in the boxes where you call those casings and have it on the wall.
Framed and matted, yeah.
And then when I'm sitting there with no teeth and a big belly and thing, I can say.
That was me.
Well, I did that though.
I did that though, right.
But yeah, man, that was.
Memories of the match itself.
I felt like, I feel like I remember. That makes sense. That it went fairly well.
Yeah.
I remember Fuji throwing salt or powder or whatever the heck it is he throws. I remember taking a bump over the railing too and landing right near somebody that looked good, and we locked eyes right there, and I think she was just looking like, get your ass over there on the other side of the rail, and I was thinking, beautiful hair, and again Sean's hollering for me, get your ass over here, I lost it for a minute, just like now, kind of. But and I think that's when I went in and for the finish. I was blind. I think I have to watch the video. That's what we need to do.
We should do a watch along.
Yeah, that's what we should do with some of those.
The fans love the watch alongs over on the Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. I know the fans had really been pushing me to have you relive the first WrestleMania match you guys had with the Rockers. With Twin Towers.
And that one you can see too, because the crowd was up on like a little runway type thing.
Yeah.
To where you can see probably waist up, us going through the crowd, which is kind of a cool shot. But you can see you going along. And I think they cut away because it seemed like there was a camera.
Well, we know what. We'll do a watch along before this set of tapings we do is over, and
okay.
The fans on Patreon can relive it with us.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Because you will see this. You'll see me and Sean running along, and then you'll see this.
Vanish.
And then come back up from there, and oh my God, talk about embarrassing.
That must have been at that point, if not the biggest crowd you ever worked in front of. One of the biggest, WrestleMania VI.
It was at that time.
Intimidating to work in front of that many people? Exciting?
No, you know what, it's different because when you would do something that you get that pop from the crowd, you hear that, ah. With this, it's a slow rumble, thunder thing, like, because it's so opened out.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, and so the sound takes a minute for the people for it all to get there, and they're not right on top of you.
And even for the fans, even the sound of the bumps are delayed.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy goes up, takes the bump, and it takes a little bit for the sound to travel. Yeah. I remember from obviously I didn't go to 6 where I was so young, but I was at 18 when they did the Hogan and the Rock one, and I do remember that about it is that in a building that big, there was such a delay in, from you'd see the move, but then it was like it took a while for the bump to travel, almost like I'm a big baseball fan, as you know.
Yeah.
When you go to the game, if you're not on top of it, you see the guy hit the ball, but it takes sometimes just a split second, and then here comes the sound. Exactly, yeah, and then
football the same way when they punt it. You'll see it go, and then you hear the poof.
So, did it take you a couple minutes to get used to that?
No. Especially, and luckily, the 4 guys in there and the ref. Who was the ref that one? You remember?
I don't remember. We'll have to wait for the watch along.
But we all were comfortable with each other, so that helps a lot, because If you got 4 guys in there nervous as that, it could be bad. But I mean, and again, like, once you're tuned into what you're supposed to be doing, you really don't hardly notice the crowd, other than you want to hear them, just, so you know where you're at in the match as far as, do we got them, or do we need to do something, they're with us or they're not with us, are we all connected? As we've talked a lot about the psychology, that crowd psychology being the most important thing to connect. So, and outside of that, I mean, when you know you got them and then you go put it on cruise control, you kind of, you don't hear it until you need to. Like, okay, where are we at? And you listen and you see if they're, I always like to read body language, to my people that too. You find somebody ringside that's really in tune with the whole crowd. And then you can just focus in on them with a quick look. Like, if you got them leaning forward, usually you got the people. When you see them like this, and obviously like this, but leaning back, you got, you might need to pick up some work. And if, they're forward, you pretty much, you got it, we're in there. But as far as I remember from that, it seems like it was a quick match. We didn't really, I can't remember.
It was only about 7 minutes, yeah.
Was it?
It wasn't very long. Because that was a problem with those shows back then. It wasn't like the WrestleManias up until coronavirus where they'd go 6 or 7 hours. You were trying to cram 13, 14, 15 matches into, 3 hours and 45 minutes or whatever it might have been.
And with the independents, I try to tell them sometimes, but I guess people have their way they want to do things, but the independents have gotten, the same way that they'll have 13, 14, 15 matches, but one of them going to be good, or 2 maybe. And they give them so much time. Each match is getting 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, oh man, if you're gonna,
they all want to have their WrestleMania moment,
right? But the thing is, and it's not to put down as a learning point. If the talent in the ring is not that talented, don't make them expose that. Don't quite go 20 minutes. Well, I might do 5 real good, but after that,
that's it. Yeah. You don't want to expose their weaknesses, so to speak.
Right, and the more time they got, the weaknesses show up. You can hide some of it.
All right, wrestling fans, I'm getting the cue from the back. Our good friend, the John C. Reilly of Boston Wrestling. We'll be back after this brief timeout as we continue our trip down memory lane through WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
The World Wrestling Federation was sold out at Vienna Bicycle Racing Hall in Vienna, Austria, Thursday, July the 29th, 1993, the WWF's debut in Vienna. In the opening contest, El Matador beat the Predator. Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, with the win over Terry Taylor. Native American Tatanka defeated Bam Bam Bigelow via countout. WWF Tag Team Champions, the Steiner Brothers, retained the titles over the Head Shrinkers. Owen Hart victorious over Papa Shango. Hacksaw Jim Duggan beat Bastion Booger. And in the main event, Hulk Hogan defeated WWF World Champion Yokozuna via disqualification during Hogan's last tour with the WWF for 9 years. If you were in Vienna live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston Wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
Arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Get this limited edition collector's autograph print personally signed by two-time WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair, inscribed 16 times for each of his recognized World Championship reigns. One of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome Ric Flair collectible for your wrestling collection now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back as we continue to talk WrestleMania 6. Rockers, again, did the honors for the Orient Express at WrestleMania 6.
I believe it. I'm pretty sure it was me or got salted.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
We're going to do the watch along so we can remember it specifically. But
I should be able to remember. Well, you can't.
Were you happy to have the Orient Express in WWF to work with? Coming off that program with the Powers of Pain, was it easier to work with them than Powers of Pain, or?
Well,
because that was kind of, instead of the culmination, that was kind of the kickoff to the feud you guys had.
That one at 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. Pat Tanaka, very familiar with anyway from Bad Company when they were at AWA, him and Paul Diamond.
Very underrated talent.
Oh gosh, it was great. And then it became great as Orient Express with it was an American boy under the hood called Kato, being Japanese. But oh man, it was Sato. I was familiar with him from my time in Japan. So yeah, it was easy. It was easy working with them. It was easier in Powers of Pain. The impact of the bumps were different, because we was talking about that in the previous show. When you're getting pushed 10, 15 feet in the air or caught off the top rope in a quick power slam, thrown into the post. I mean, that's we don't mind that, because you're getting the fans happy, making them happy. But I just feel bad saying if it was an easier match because they both were easy. Less high impact bumps were taken with the Orient. I mean, we still bumped around, of course. They did too.
Did you enjoy working with one team more than the other?
Like I said, I liked working with the Powers of Pain. I don't want to say better than anybody else, because I loved working with the Hart Foundation. Pretty much everyone. The only one that was a little bit off was Demolition, and that just being because they were rock 'em, sock 'em, stomp 'em, slam 'em kind of guys, and we needed. If we could make it work with Powers of Pain as big as they are, we could have made it work with Demo, but they seemed to be real protective of the brand, of their character, the ring characters, the romp 'em, stomp 'ems. So I thought we still had good matches, but they weren't my favorites, put it that way. Still liked them, weren't my favorites. I liked the Powers of Pain because I loved taking those crazy bumps.
Did you?
Yeah, and it made sense with them, take them, like you were saying about the one with Hogan and Shawn, the exaggerated bumps. You didn't have to exaggerate these. They could get you up there in the air. So and we made everything make sense. It took two of us to knock one of them down, and that's what was trying to tell a couple of the demo guys, Demolition. we'll double team. It's okay to go down. Maybe even a second, maybe we drop kick you, and both of us, a double drop kick, get your teetle in there, and then hit the ropes, come with a double clothesline, maybe, and even that, I'm not going to say who because I love them all, that. But one of them was just overprotective, like, and if I do the voice, you'll know who it is. So I won't do the voice. But what if you? I almost did anyway. He suggested 3 things, so we had to do a double, 3 things.
Was it a man that was in this studio within the past few weeks?
I think he's been here.
Yeah. Well, actually, both
And
of them
God
have,
bless
so
him,
you
by
can
the
narrow
way.
it down. But
Yeah.
but no, I know
one
how
time-
protective one of them was,
Yeah, and God bless him.
and he'd be
Prayers.
hit you like an axe.
Of course, this is what 4, 5, 6 weeks from now. So he probably, hopefully,
Hopefully home down
yeah.
back in Atlanta. Yeah.
yeah.
For
But
the
yeah,
fans that may not be familiar with the story, if you've been out of the wrestling news loop, around the time we taped this in June, Axe had some heart issues a couple of weeks after he was here in studio, and nothing life-threatening, but he wasn't at 100% capacity. So his daughter and his wife, they said, he was visiting his daughter in North Carolina, so they said, why don't you hang out in North Carolina until you're 110%. So hopefully, by the time this episode airs, knock on wood, our friend Bill Eadie, Demolition Axe, the Mass Superstar, will be home in Georgia, enjoying probably a very hot summer, because he's got a very active home. He's got a 15-year-old and a 22-year-old, I think, in that house. So that's a busy house for
Yes.
Bill. Bill's got a very interesting life, and he's a great guy, as you guys have seen.
Super guy.
On our Wrestling Insider episodes, we had Bill here for 2 days in May, and just fantastic content with a great guy. He's had a tough year. He had COVID back in February, I think, and now, the ticker on the inside pestering him a little bit. It hasn't been a great 2021 for Bill. That WrestleMania weekend disaster I mentioned to you, and his car broke down when they were going to have a family vacation. He drove from Atlanta to Tampa, and the car broke down. Then he tried to check into the hotel, and it was insect infected, and I have no idea what you're doing over there.
Oh, it's hot, man. I got to take this.
Your foot is hot.
Well, where this is covered with this thing.
All right, well, I respect that. But hopefully he's doing well. We'll talk more about your feud with the Orient Express as time goes on. The match. You enjoyed the WrestleMania 6 experience for yourself, at least.
Yeah, it was great. And, we always want to watch those because they build those up, that's the big blow-off. And then you always want to watch for your own interest, see how they go end it. You're trying to guess it yourself,
Were you surprised that they asked you to put them over?
I don't know if it was or not.
Not
really, because
they only debuted in February, so they really were new.
And that was what, April?
April, yeah.
Not really, because when they wanted to get somebody over, where'd they come? The Rockers could get them over. That was the same thing with my singles. It was, I was just talking to somebody about it last night. It might have been, it was on our talk along or watch along by now it was about 4 weeks ago.
Cyber signing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they mentioned something about working with Gold Dust. What was that like? It was the same thing when they come in with a new character that they haven't fully developed. Get MJ, he'll take care of it. Damn. And I didn't mind at all. But I mean,
and you know what? A great compliment in some ways. That you were trusted by the company to make their other talents look good.
It's a compliment, but you like that compliment to reflect in the wallet sometime.
Well,
or get your return, return the favor sometime. Don't have to be with that. So that was one thing the boys always got upset about was doing what they called a job. And understandably, I guess, but we were doing TV weekly. Because you get beat this week, all they do is have you beat somebody next week and you're back up. It's not. A lot of the boys felt like if they ever do a job, that's why there were so many DQs and run-ins and stuff, because it was having a hard time. I told you about the time I sat in the booking meeting with, or the war room as they call it, with Terry Taylor, right? I tell you what, he was giving the finishes, calling the guys in for their match. And he was like,
this you're talking WCW.
Yeah, when he was there.
Yeah, I do remember that story now.
Yeah, and they probably do too, so I'll leave it alone. It was just that every time he told brought the guys in, like who was going over, who was not. There was the same thing. The one not going over, see the head dip and the smile go away, you know.
Almost like Greg Valentine.
Yeah. That's one person you can't read in a poker game.
You know someone that could read him, just in a different way.
There we go. Go ahead. If you say it.
Denver, Colorado.
Started the show out in Denver, Colorado.
Earlier in the night, it was the final televised WWF match of the 8th Wonder of the World, Andre the Giant, as the Colossal Connection, Andre and Haku, lost the tag team titles to our good friends, Axe and Smash Demolition.
Title, though.
Yeah, your thoughts on Andre's kind of his swan song in WWF? He did come back the next year, but he really didn't wrestle.
But that was at 6 where they dropped the...
Yeah, where Andre and Haku lost to Demolition, and then Andre paint slapped Bobby, which was a kind of a memorable spot.
Yeah, well, I remember that, yeah.
You know, was Andre in a lot of pain at that point?
He had to be. He was walking. So he came, how long do you think, would you say he came back for? When he came back, didn't he come back for like a short stint?
He came back in '91. They tried to set up an angle with him in Earthquake, but I don't remember if...
After that, that was it?
No, well, you know, then he started walking with those crutches that were around his wrists, and he managed the Bushwhackers at SummerSlam '91, and that was the last time he was on WWF TV, from what I recall.
What I do remember when he had the crutch things, his knees were starting to bow outward all the way, and he'd had several knee surgeries. He would have those pants he'd wear, polyester, double knit poly, or wherever they were, but you could see blood on both knees.
Oh, really?
Because I guess the scar was busting open or whatever. That's a lot of pressure. 400. I think he got it to close to 500 there at the end.
Oh, did you ever see some of his work in '92 in Japan and Mexico?
Probably did, but
God, he looked
slow motion.
No. Well, he was slow even towards the end of WWF. But I mean, it was embarrassing for the man. And I mean, I understand he wanted to be around the boys. He wanted to be around that life, but he was immobile.
Me and him never sat and talked, but I was just glad he finally talked to me one day. But you could feel that he knew the end was there. Not just in, I think you'd get the feeling with him that when wrestling ended, he ended. And it kind of, sort of the truth. When it was done, he didn't have I don't even think he was crazy about being like a manager or a third or something.
Yeah.
When he would come out with we said it was Bushwhackers.
He managed the Bushwhackers at a SummerSlam when they set up that program with him in Earthquake, which would have been horrible if they ever had the matches. But
oh my God.
When he wound, I don't know if he had another knee surgery, but he wound up managing Jake for a little bit when he was on the crutches in '91, and that was pretty. I think it was like May through August of '91, if I remember right. He came back for that, and then in the biography that they put out about Andre.
Oh, this A&E one?
Yeah, well, it was originally on HBO, and
then
I think WWE bought the rights to it completely.
I'm scared to say A&E.
But well, like I said, imagine if she ever went to town on Andre. But it made it sound like him and Vince had kind of
make the second show.
Had a falling out, so to speak. Andre and Vince. I don't know if it was because Andre wanted to continue to have a spot, and Vince basically said, I don't remember verbatim, but he didn't want to be around unhappy people, so he stopped booking them.
That's what
something
it was.
Like that.
Yeah, well, I saw what you did then.
Oh, okay, yeah, so it was the same show.
Right. Yeah, and you could see Andre was never, when he's playing cards and had about 6 to 8 bottles of wine already polished off, and you'd get the laughs, you'd get a couple, and only if you were the one playing cards with him, or, I mean, you couldn't walk by and tell him a joke and bust him out. I mean, he just, that was about as much as you get from him.
So you could tell he was hurt?
But no, that was before he got bad. When he got bad, you didn't see him laugh at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so you know it was bad. Oh. And I'm sure Vince had a hard time saying, this is the end of the road. It might be hard for some to understand, but if you tell the man, it's bad for our image if we keep using you out there. Because from what I heard, Andre felt like he got used at the end of it all.
Really?
You know, it was like you used me, you know, for make you money. I mean, really, why else would you be around?
And that's sad. You know,
Yeah.
maybe was there, but with him, the travel was such a challenge. I mean, you're talking about trying to navigate a 500-pound man through airports and airplanes.
I always wondered how he must, because you have to arrange stuff in your mind to accept certain things. You got to make what do they say, adjust and adapt. You know?
I would even think maybe would there be a spot for him as like an ambassador where you send him to a live event, but instead of him, you know, being a manager or even wrestling, you know, before the show starts, he does a free meet and greet for an hour or something like that. You know what I mean? The fans would be thrilled to meet him.
Oh,
and he'd still be around the boys. He'd still be on the road. It would be something as opposed to nothing. You know what I mean?
And you say the fans would enjoy seeing him, right? I wonder about that too, because I know how I felt when I saw some of when I was 10 years old, watching the guys that became my favorites. And then, you know, I got into business, I was 10, so about 13 years later when I got into business, 14 years later, now they're older and beat up, you know, because the rest of the world does put a pounding on the body. And you see them, I just remember seeing Big Bill Dromo in particular, and my Georgia people know him, I think that's where he was the big star. You know, sort of like I'm getting now, he was slumped over and got the belly and just didn't look good. And I didn't like seeing that. I mean, you don't want to see your hero defeated, kinda. Even though he's happy, you know, like, I don't want my fans to ever have to see that with me, and I'm sure they do right now. And trust me, I'm gonna be all right. In fact, we're gonna work out together. I'm gonna start this diet after I get home, because it's hard to diet start one, but with the diet comes training. So we're gonna do this together through my Facebook.
It'll be fun.
And here, of
and
course.
Interactive.
Yeah, we'll all take our measurements and weight. Although remember, it's
I'll
not so
even
much
join
weight.
in.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You probably don't even know this, but I was as high as weighed in at 309.
Where you weigh now?
I'm in my mid 260s.
Really?
And
you
know me,
heavy,
it's not like I can exercise or anything.
More now. That's the
I'm
thing,
lucky I can get up, and I was like Knobs. I'm lucky I can humble up and stumble up and go to the bathroom and not have to go out on the loading dock.
Right? And that's the thing. I mean, with this, I'm just now getting to where, you know, as I told you, getting on a stationary bike, and got to take that slow. This one had to take the brunt of the weight from this one being, you know, down. And it just got finished with his surgery, so I'm having to balance act it, figure out, you know, exactly. But I figured, well, by the time this showing, I won't be looking like this when y'all are actually seeing me.
Summer will be half over.
Yeah, I'll be. Trust me, if I'm gonna go on the internet and tell people we're dieting today, you gotta stick to it.
All right, wrestling fans, I'm getting the cue from the back from our good friend J.C. Riley. We'll be back after a brief time out as we continue the party with Marty. Right now, though, perfect time. Check out the link in the description box below. Head on over to the eBay store. Get an on-air shout-out from Marty Jannetty. Tons of great merchandise from superstars of every era. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marotti.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now available on eBay.
At WrestleMania 37, she defeated Asuka to become the new Raw Women's Champion, and here is your chance to own a piece of Rhea Ripley on this beautiful limited edition autographed 11x14 poster direct from friends at WWE. Number 50 of only 50 made, includes WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Suitable for framing and matting, you'll also receive a bonus Legends autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air thank you on Wrestling Insiders as our thanks for helping keep Wrestling Legends working. Get this ultra-rare Rhea Ripley autograph poster now.
Cheer. Why, hello. I would ask what was on your mind, but I already know. You want to know what has got my beard looking oh so majestic. And I'll tell you, it's sexy as hell beard care. coconut oil, vitamin E oil, almond oil, both sweet and bitter, shea butter. It's all natural. Yes, JTG has actually come out with a high quality product. So support your boy by going to sahbeardcare.com and take one step closer to becoming sexy as hell. Cheer. Ooh, cheer. You know?
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. If you headed on over to eBay, we appreciate it. Of course, the Patreon is there for your viewing pleasure 24/7 at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. If you are watching the live premiere, share your thoughts in the little chat box. The super chat button is always open. If you'd like to donate a couple of bucks, tip the bartender to keep the wrestling legends coming in. And of course, give us a big thumbs up. That costs absolutely nothing. And subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. It lets YouTube know that you enjoy what we do. And it tells either YouTube people or YouTube computers or YouTube algorithms to showcase our videos to the millions of fans that don't know we exist. But once they do find us, I think they're going to love us, Marty. I continue to believe that. What are you doing now?
We got to work out later at the next show.
What is it?
The hose. You ain't seen these?
Where did you get that?
Out
of your bag? Oh,
yeah, because I didn't see the gym. You said there's a gym at the hotel.
There is a gym.
Where is it?
I couldn't tell you if my life depended. But for some reason, I think it's on the first floor. Not too far from where the coffee bar is. But anyway, again, back to Andre. A sad ending to his WWF time. Maybe was there a role for an ambassador? I mean, with the it's not like it was a regionalized schedule as it's become now. I mean, it's not like you could get him a Winnebago and drive him from Detroit to Tampa for a Friday and a Saturday night shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he went on to wrestle in Japan and Mexico. I don't know if
they loved him in Japan.
Oh, they sure did.
Japanese people love to be scared, and he scared them. The size.
He was a great heel in Japan.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with the story where in Mexico, the ass spot that you talked about so much?
Oh,
he did it to Bad News, only he couldn't get off of him, and he moved his bowels on Bad News.
Well, he did.
You didn't know? You never heard that? Yeah, down in Mexico. It was only a couple of months before he passed.
They shit on Bad News.
He did the ass spot, and he couldn't get off of him, and I guess from the impact.
Oh, Bad News shit.
No, Andre shit on Bad News when he was sitting on him.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine that?
Oh, that's more than
You made out pretty good compared to Bad News.
That's like a horse turd. I mean, they said, one of Andre's big things was his farts. What do they call it? Flatulation. They loved to hear Andre. Well, Andre loved to hear Andre fart. Because he had those, the way Hulk described it, one of them thunders, boom, and he said they'd go for about 15 seconds. And you imagine him, he was this big around, if not bigger, around the midsection, and that's a lot of gas. What's it called? Flatulation?
Fluctuating is one way it's described. But do you remember the guys kind of, saying farewell to the boss that night at WrestleMania 6, or?
Not really.
No?
Yeah, I might have been drunk.
It was a surprise.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, any interesting Andre stories? You were around the man pretty regularly for about almost 2 years. Any funny stories that may stand out? Anything?
The only thing.
I know you guys weren't traveling pals.
Right, but I'd see him quite often in hotel bars.
Drinking.
Yeah. And he has legendary status on that.
I think he probably topped you.
Oh, by far. I came in.
Did you ever drink with Andre?
No, I sat next to him once, and we didn't even really talk that much. But this is after he finally started talking to Sean and I.
Yeah.
But I come down to the bar, and he's like slumped over, sitting there. Oh, again? It's my job to knock that. Where's my phone?
Right there.
Okay. Anyway, so he's sitting there by himself, and I mean, it didn't matter if nobody else was there. He's going to be in that hotel lounge. And I didn't see a beer can, or a bottle or nothing in front of him. I'm like, "You're not drinking today, Andre?" Ho, ho, ho. And he moved his hand. Because his hand was so big, he covered the whole can. You could see just the top of it. And I was like, damn, how big those hands are. I mean, they were. I saw him put it in front of. He died. Lord Alfred died, right?
Oh yeah.
But on that talk, remember there was a talk show or something other. They asked him, how big are your hands, Andre? Hold your hands. And he held it right in front of his face and covered, I mean, completely. I mean, you couldn't see nothing. Man had some hands, but that's about it with the road stories with Andre. I can't think of anything else. And if there was something else, it'd come right out in memory, meaning.
Let me ask you this. I'm sure a time or two you guys were probably on the same flight. How would he try and get in and out of the plane? I mean, they're so small. I have a hard time getting on the plane, and I'm 6'3".
Right. Well, he would have to duck his head. A couple of guys that have to duck their head a little bit, especially for the little exit signs. You got.
Yeah.
But no, it was another road story was that he always had to sit in front because you got an extra. I mean, even then, he'd be squashed in.
Oh, yeah.
The thing. There was the one trip, I don't know if I've told our guys here, our fans, our followers, ZZ Top was on the flight. And they're cool guys. The two of them were on that one. And the blonde hair one, I think he was a drummer. It wasn't, what's his name, with the long red beard. And he loved wrestling. But the other guy's wife or daughter, I think wife had been abducted and held for ransom, which I guess that happens. I thought that was just hearsay kind of thing, but I guess that really happens with some rich people. That,
sure.
That's crazy.
They got the money, yeah.
And so he wasn't, happy or partying or anything. He was real quiet. I think it's Dan Hill, the red-haired one, but whatever, he was partying with all of us and we were cutting up and having a great time. He knew more about wrestling than we did, and then him and John Nord hit it off the best, man.
Really?
Yeah, Anvil kept trying to give him lyrics to the song. What if you did this one? And you're telling one of the best in the world how to do their thing. But he was trying. He was, but we all had a great time. Andre, was just listening, didn't say much, and drinking. All of us were. In fact, Dan, if it's Dan Hill was the one, I know it was just a red hair. I think he had passed. It was a LA to it was a red eye. Mm-hmm. It's all night flying from LA to Atlanta, maybe. Andre fell asleep and. Which I mean, sleep, because that guy didn't pass out from drinking. That I know of. I mean, he might have, but I don't know. But when he fell asleep, this way.
I hope there was no one sitting next to him.
And when we were getting ready to land, and you buckle your seats and everything, the arm of the chair was bent out like this. And he was in the front row, so everybody was stuck on the plane. All stuck on the plane for just a little while, because he waited for this. He go, I've been cheering, and they didn't know what to do because there were two of the flight attendants tugging on it, and we didn't know, could we help? And Andre was getting frustrated. He goes, let me try. Bends it right back up.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's strong. All that size brings some strength, And then that was that. There was no, everybody could get off the plane, but that was blocked in.
So, I mean,
that's how big he was, though.
He had a difficult time even in a regular first class seat.
I mean, who's going to, and those things aren't flimsy.
No.
Who's by just leaning over is going to parallel.
The poor guy. It must have been so tough for him trying to, like I said, I can't even fly comfortably. I couldn't imagine being his size trying to do it day in, day out.
Bundy was another one because he was wide, man. Yeah. He was so wide. He was a solid.
Would they give Bundy first class or no?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Well, because there were so few.
I'm sure they did.
There were so few that had access to first class.
Right. Well, yeah, if you wasn't a champion or those guys, like you said.
Those select few.
Yeah, even though the Rougeos swore they deserved first class. Jacques was always like, I love him to death. I'm not making fun of him. But yeah, he always tried to weasel in for a little bit more.
Now, so you guys, you'd have to pay out of pocket if you wanted.
If you went up or upgrade with your miles. Yeah.
Oh well, just imagine. I can imagine the miles that you must have accrued
everybody was a million miles. You know, you get more benefits once you hit the million mile.
Now, which airline do you have the most miles with?
Delta.
Delta. Do you still have the miles or no?
I've used a lot of them. Back in the day, the girls thought I was spending my money to fly me in.
They'd gift them to the rats.
Yeah. The perks.
The perks.
The ring perks.
Business, yeah.
We want to stop calling them rats because we were talking about that today with Oscar. I would tell y'all to listen to Oscar's show, but it
would have been weeks ago.
Yeah,
John C., did I miss your cue?
He gave the second one.
Did he? I don't remember if he gave me the third one though. Sometimes I lose track when we have this great wrestling.
I don't think
talk.
the third one yet.
Oh, he has or he didn't give me the new. Oh, all right, perfect then. Thank you. You remember the big X to give us when we know it's time to take it home. But I just wanted to try and share maybe a few more Andre stories before we moved on. But just with the bigger guys, I mean, you know.
Well, like I said, I used to, in particular, for a while, you know, when everything's new. When we first started with WWF, John and I would at least. I used to like to, you know, kind of wait and let all the big guys go, just to watch all the, you know, going through the down to baggage claim, just the people both sides of the aisles through the airport, just all punching each other and looking for the ones that they recognized, which was like Hulk and Andre and the Warrior. I think I've told this, but it's okay to hear one more time. Funniest one was Warrior, man. Warrior always complained, you know, he didn't want people recognizing him. I mean, the man's 6 foot, what, 4? 6'4".
Well, he was that tall?
Yeah, about
Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was about that, right at that. Your height, you're 6'3".
6'3",
yeah,
about,
right in there,
about my
6'3".
size. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize he was that tall.
Yeah, and he was a shredded 280. You know, I mean, he was.
Oh yeah.
And you know, so it was hard not to know. And he had the long hair and, you know, flowing, walking through, big dude. It was hard not to at least look. And then once you look, it's, oh wait a minute, that's that Warrior guy. You know, but he didn't like to take pictures. Really, he used the paint. You know, he didn't have his. I'm not in character. I'm not taking pictures. That was really an excuse. He just didn't want people bothering him, and but he would do that. I'm not in character. Hated people coming up to him, you know, because they recognized him. He would go off like that, and then next time you see him, he's got a tattoo of himself on his forearm.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And then the next time you see him, he's got a boot that says Ultimate down one side, Warrior down the other. I mean, he's just a walking billboard. Then when they came up with a jacket with him on the back, he's wearing his jacket. I mean, okay, we don't want nobody to recognize us. Let's just tattoo us and boots and jacket and come on, man.
He even changed his name.
Yeah, he did, to Warrior.
To Warrior, yeah.
Well, wasn't that though? Was there more to it than that? Wasn't that for to have the license because Ultimate Warrior was WWE?
Well, I think WWE owned Ultimate Warrior, but because he was Dingo Warrior in World Class, he could get away with using just the name Warrior. Because remember, in '98 he went on to WCW to have that horrendous feud with Hogan, and he was called Warrior at that point.
Right, and I'm not sure. I think they talked about this on the biography on A&E. And
B.
We started the show in Denver, Colorado. But didn't he? Was it? But if that was his actual name, his real now that he would have rights to Ultimate Warrior too, because it was the likeness, the similarity. When you sign contracts, it says that any likeness or similarity. So Warrior would be.
Well, he wore face paint before WWF when he was in World Class, so he could get away with that too in WCW.
But
the only thing I really don't think he could have gotten away with, and they didn't even attempt it, was to call him Ultimate Warrior because that was a Vince creation.
Right.
Everything else though was prior usage.
You want to go jogging later?
Yeah, we'll go
This
jogging.
ankle's going, it's itching to do something.
All right. But before we go, any final memories? Maybe he'll come up again
Andre?
in '91, but at least of the Boss in 1990. Did it change the atmosphere at all not to have him on the road anymore with you guys? Or?
Not that
You didn't really care.
Not that, but I mean, didn't affect us. You know?
Well, I mean, were there ever times someone would leave and you'd kind of miss having them around?
No, especially if they died. But
well, obviously. But I mean, when someone, when they depart the company.
If it's like Sean, when we were close as we were, and we're good again. But I would have been different, because it's my partner in crime. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can explain it this way. You got your favorites, like Kurt Hennig being one, Davey Boy being for me. Davey Boy being one, and Kerry Von Erich, and when we were running 3 towns a night. It's hard to call New York City a town.
Yeah, right.
When you're running 3 towns a night, 3 cities.
Not Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah. You're hoping that your guys are on your like you're on we called it A, B, and C, and it kind of was that way. The C team had the smaller shows, but
the C team were towns in a lot of ways.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Some of them.
And even when things were really hot, the D team.
What's that?
I said when things were really hot, the D team.
Yeah,
some
at one
weekends.
time,
Yeah,
man, they wasn't missing a trick, and they're selling them all out.
Well, I think that's a little bit of
at
romantic history.
Yeah.
I mean, even in '87 at its peak, if you look at some of the crowds for some certain cities and whatnot, you'd be blown away at how little. I don't know if you are familiar with it. I know you're so active with everything we do here in Boston Wrestling, but we do our daily WWE history video of results from a live event from usually the 80s or 90s. And sometimes if you look at the attendance, I remember there was one we did not too long ago. Steamboat and Savage was the main event in '87, fresh off of their WrestleMania 3 Classic.
Okay, I was gonna say it was probably spinning
2,700 people.
Really?
So that's not sellout business.
That must have been something that happened. Maybe, what's his name that we were talking about last episode, was getting ready to expose whatever he thought. What's his name?
Superstar Billy Graham. No, this was years before that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, was business great in that era? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But was it a sellout every night like everybody says? No.
Well, if you was on that man's Hulk, he was, all the ones I was on, I don't know which ones y'all saw.
Well, you know what?
From 80, we had, at least for TV taping, they had set the record. And the last I heard it was, for TVs, it was the 300 and consecutive, which was what back then. We did 3 TV. We did Remember Wrestling Challenger one day and Superstars another day, and then it was 3 shows. We didn't have Raw until about midnight or
Raw
early
started
90s.
in '93. Yeah.
93. It was 3. I don't remember. I know there was Challenge and Superstars.
Sometimes you'd even just have a TV taping to try and fill primetime wrestling and All American Wrestling, and there'd be almost like bonus TV tapings that would.
And those were they were good about finding cities that knew with a building that could accommodate a certain number. As I guess by advanced sales they could see if it ain't going good.
My buddy Ed Cohen was the master of it. He
right?
knew those schedules. But I mean, even Hogan and Andre, when they tried to break into the Carolinas, I don't remember if it was the first event WWF had in Charlotte or Greensboro, but Hogan and Andre only did about 2,000 people in '87 or '88.
I wonder what was going on.
After doing 93,000 in Detroit. So not every, was business great? Yes. Was it on fire? Yes. Was it sellout business every night? No.
No, I wonder what happened in '87 though for it dropped. WrestleMania had already come around, right?
Yeah, but for example, the next night they could do 16,000 in Philadelphia. There was some fluctuation.
I wonder if it was local promoters, because there was always a local.
There were local promoters too, sure.
And sometimes they just figured. That's just like the independent promoters. They get a name on the card and forget, well, the people got to know he's there.
You still got to promote it, right? All right, wrestling fans, we are running out of time here, unfortunately, because we love talking with you. Again, if you're chatting away in the premiere, let us know what you thought of tonight's show.
By the way,
the super chat is open.
And in that chat room, how many times has this happened? You've seen it. when I get in there and chat with you, everybody starts, not everybody, a lot of them are like, oh, he's on TV, that's a fake one. Right?
They do, yeah. They don't realize that we have to pre-tape so many episodes
not
at the
all
same
of them
time.
live.
This episode is not live, fans. This is pre-taped, just so you know. But the premiere chat is live, so if Marty does pop in,
oh, it is?
that is the Marty that
how
is...
do I get that one? But
What?
that'll help them too. How do I get to the super chat?
No, you just, like you usually do, you go to the link and then you just, in the little box it says type here, you put in your message like you do sometimes when you come in.
But it's...
But
the
super chat is that wonderful little gray dollar sign. Again, don't forget to tip the bartender. The eBay store is open for business 24/7, baby.
By the way, you owe me $5.
Why is that?
Because I tipped the bartender. I was a bartender.
Share the links across social media so we can get more new fans in this wonderful world of Boston wrestling.
Yes.
A big thumbs up costs you nothing. Sharing the link costs nothing. Subscribing to the YouTube channel costs nothing. But if you want to become more than a fan, if you want to become more than a friend, if you want to join the Boston wrestling family, baby, there's only one place to be. Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. where you get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows. You get the acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library that's been seen by millions online, millions more on The Howard Stern Show. You get Patreon exclusive videos like some of the watch-alongs we've done with Marty, and the knowledge that your fine self, you are helping keep wrestling legends working. Again, that's patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For my partner in crime each and every Thursday night, Mr. Marty Jannetty, I am his humble assistant, Dan Marotti. We'll see you next Thursday. And then don't forget, tomorrow night after SmackDown, John Cena Sr. and that piece of back for a fabulous Friday. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.